everything. We love it. And his world domination continues with help from the biggest names in the business on his latest CD, Global Warming. Please welcome Pitt Bull.
I'm from Miami. No, it was a different Miami I grew up around.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't moving. It was more like working and twerking.
And working and twerking?
You look like a twerking.
What's a twerking? What's twerking?
I don't know. If you don't know about it, then you don't know.
I don't know what twerking is.
That's what she was doing with the Nick dances.
Did you like it? Did Sherry
Oh, I loved it. I love the Nick dances. They looked very gorgeous and beautiful and sexy, and that looks like a lot of complications. You know what I'm saying? Real quick.
No, perfect. The global warming, by the way, is pretty great. Christina Aguilera, Usher, Jennifer Lopez, just name a few. Who do you have in your mind that you want to work with next, though, that you haven't yet?
I don't really put together a wish list, to be honest with you. I mean, it's an honor to work with everybody and giving me such amazing opportunities. For me, it's just learning from each one on how they handle not only themselves as artists, but as entrepreneurs. And as far as the person that I would love to work with, she passed away, Celia Cruz. And hopefully through technology, I'll be able to put something together.
That'd be nice.
She's the queen of Cuba, la reina, ya tú sabes.
You know, and you are Cuban American. Your real name, we call you Pitt Bull. Your real name is Armando Cristian Perez.
First generation Cuban American, so I'm politically incorrect already.
But you have several nicknames. You got Pitt Bull, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305.
Those are all names that I've worked very hard for.
And what do they mean? What are all the different names?
Well, Pitt Bull comes from the simple fact, I mean, you know, growing up in different interesting areas in Miami, you would see the Pit Bulls fight. And one thing about the Pit Bull, it fights to the death. You know, it doesn't understand the word lose. It's not a part of its vocabulary, let's say, no? So, no, absolutely, in the music business, you have to fight. As far as that, Pit Bulls are illegal in Dade County, so I'm the only Pit Bull with papers, literally. But I still buy it, you know?
Are you single?
Bilingual and ready to mingle.
Bilingual.
Single, bilingual, and ready to mingle.
Bilingual and ready to mingle. That's pretty good. What are you looking for?
Big time. Yeah? There she goes.
But one of the things that you talk about when you talk about single is your mother who raised you as a single mother and whom you have enormous regard and devotion for. But there was a time in your teenage years when you were into a little stuff, okay? And you turned yourself around. How did you do that? Give a message to some of the kids who may need it.
And, you know, growing up in Miami is a city that's grown very quickly and due to where it's based, you know? So there was always a lot of extracurricular activities.
So to speak.
And, yeah, there you go, so we can put it in the right term. And yes, growing up, I would dibble and dabble and came across, I would say, the fork in the road, music being the savior. And that's why I say,
when you found music,
I took my life from a negative to a positive.
When you found music, that's what made the change?
Basketball was the one that kept me out of it. Then I figured out that I liked that I was a street entrepreneur, you know? In other words. And what happened was, I hated algebra, but I loved the multiply, you know? Yeah. And then I figured out that wasn't for me. And my father one time, well, my mother, she definitely said, look, let me tell you something. There's a lot of things that I've dealt with your father, and he wasn't around my life, but she said, I'm not going to deal with that with you. So I've taught you well, raised you well. So, no, she said, you got 20 minutes and grab everything you can, get out the house.
Your father helped you with performing at a very young age, so he was around.
No, he didn't help me perform. What happened was we lived in a neighborhood called La Pequeña Habana, Little Havana, and he brought boats over in the Marriott boat lift. So at the time it was infested with what they would call Marielitos, which were a great batch and also an interesting batch. So he would put me on top of the bars in Little Havana, which is also the restaurant. That's how they work out in the neighborhood. So I don't think my father was taking me to a bar at 5 years old, but he was. So he put me up there and he made me recite poems from Cuba, from Jose Marti, which was someone very, very powerful and people that the Cubans respect a lot. So when I was up there and I would say, a poem about freedom, about fighting, about our country, you know, they would all go crazy. And that was my first feeling of performing and what it is to touch people like that. You know,
Wow.
yeah, nice.
You have some incredible stories and a great way to tell them. I wish we had more time to talk, but we are thankful because we have more time to hear you perform when we come back. Pitt Bull is performing his latest